And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Alba. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Alba. Trying out a new place. It's a hipster joint. Used to be a place where you could spit tobacco on the floor here, but no, you can't do that now. This place used to actually have a cracker barrel. I mean, a real cracker barrel. Not anymore. Oh, no. Did you guys watch the thing last night between the two clowns? I mean, if that wasn't a scripted piece of crap, I don't know what it was. And basically, all Trump did was repeat the same stuff he says whenever someone sticks a camera in his face. You know, election was stolen. Everything's a scam. They lie. And the brilliant thing about Donald Trump is he lies so much, he tells the truth. That's the beauty. Whereas Biden, what we saw of Biden last night, is what Biden is on one dimension. When he is dimensionally impaired. Now, we've been shown by our overlords what to expect. Now, what do you think? We'll get Tyler Swift to run for president in the Democratic Party. I mean, what else are you going to do, right? Even though her album's number one for the ninth week, it only sold 70,000 units. It's not much. So, here's a little news.
This is NPR News. In Kentucky and other states, Jewish women are using a surprising argument in their lawsuits against abortion bans, religious freedom.
According to the Talmud, life begins at birth, not at conception.
So they say laws that define conception as the beginning of human life are at odds with their Jewish theory. I'm Scott Tetro. Hear more on All Things Considered from NPR News. Support for WETS comes from East Tennessee State University, congratulating ETSU's marching bucks on being selected to represent Tennessee with their performance in this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Ways to support the march.
This is my radio station. ETSU is a university. That's a great university. It's about 30 miles from here, maybe 40. But it's really the only radio I get. I do get a Bible station. That is not bad. Sometimes they just go too hard wild. So, a couple of guys are pretty theological and are interesting. Yeah? So, when I go down to where they are and talk to them, they actually are quite nice about having a conversation. No, let's see what NPR actually news.
Parade. Ways to support the Marching Bucks Macy's performance may be found at etsu.edu/bucksonparade. Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Winter Johnston. The Trump campaign is claiming victory after the first presidential debate of the 2024 election cycle. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben reports Trump squared off against President Biden for the first time in 4 years in Atlanta last night. Republicans especially are sort of doing a victory dance, saying that Trump looked so strong compared to Biden, who just looked old. But let's also keep in mind here that this is Trump, so he said a lot of things that are flat out not true. NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben. During the debate, Trump falsely represented the January 6th insurrection and misstated the strength of the economy under his administration. In his closing statement, President Biden said his administration has made significant progress from the debacle that was left by the previous administration.
And this is true, and they asked him about what would he do about global warming and environment. He said, I want perfect water. I want perfect air. When I was president, we had perfect water. We had perfect air. Well, when he was president, we had this pandemic and our economic system collapsed. We weren't manufacturing anything. No one was driving anywhere. And of course, the air pollution went way down. And of course, the water, they weren't putting industrial waste into the rivers. So, But the thing that Donald did and will do is he decontrolled a great deal of things. And he wasn't, he didn't even expect to win in 2016. So when he did, he was like, what? And so he wasn't really prepared. He tried to do a bunch of stuff. They did a bunch of stuff, but really nothing. I mean, he gave a big, great tax cut to corporations and rich people, not too much for the common guy. He single-handedly increased the deficit more than any other president did, right? When he left office, there were more unemployed people than when he started, right? And there are a lot of metrics in that. But he doesn't look at metrics, and he just so every time they asked him a question like about the OxyContin and drug catastrophe that's going on, what would he do about that? He didn't even talk about it. He said, he went straight to, you're going to lose your Social Security because Joe is giving it to the illegal aliens. I mean, just like lied. And CNN didn't even ask him a question. Didn't say, excuse me, sir, that's a lie. So you can see that there's a dynamic of the corporate thing that's steering. I mean, we don't have a choice. We're given we have to choose between Biden and Donnie, and it's like, give me a break. So, and no one seems to care. And wait till martial law, yeah. And right now it's 91 degrees outside. I live in the mountains, and it's still June. And normally it's like in the 60s and 70s at this time of year. We don't get hot. Getting to be 85 is hot for us. It's 91 out there, right? And the sun, everyone I see, who doesn't even, I just kind of, sometimes in the sun, like some old folks came to visit me today, and they're gardeners, and they brought me some of their veggies, and they were like, a lot of my friends are like, they look like burnt hot dogs, red skin, red, with black splotches, and I saw that before when I lived in Australia. And I used to walk around with an umbrella. I used to always wear long sleeve shirts. I always was lathered up in sunscreen. And virtually everyone I know or knew in Australia is dead of skin cancer. So anyway, but people don't think about it, right? It's like diabetes. You really don't know you have it until you keel over. And anyway, so it's an interesting time we live in. And, but if you are any kind of student of history, it's the same as it always was, right? It's just a little more right in your face. Everyone has their own phone. Can't escape it. It is what it is, So, what can I say? It's interesting. This place is totally spanked up. Everyone's wearing uniforms here. But the people who still come in here are the hover folk. It is quite interesting. And the people who bought up all these old colored stores, they're all from Texas. And their color palette is brown and what do they call it? Navajo white. Right? And they totally air condition the heck out of this place. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So is that you, AI? I just came here to see if they had Wi-Fi. They do, and they deemed to give me the password. So here we are. Anyway, let's see. We'll go back to the news.
Officials in Oklahoma are requiring the public school system Bible and 10 Commandments into the curriculum for grades 5 through 12 effective immediately. State Superintendent Ryan Waters announced the decision on Thursday. Every teacher, every classroom in the state will have a Bible in the classroom and will be teaching from the Bible in the classroom. The new requirement, which is part of the conservative movement to implement Christian values in public schools, has drawn ire from civil rights groups and has prompted challenges from the ACLU. This is NPR. The risk of flash flooding around wildfire burn areas will remain high in parts of New Mexico this weekend. NPR's Kirk Sigler reports many businesses are closed in Las Vegas, New Mexico because of a water shortage.
This city of 13,000 people is believed to be within a day or two of running out of drinking water. After days of relying on donations, FEMA just sent 8 semi-truckloads of pallets of water. Lieutenant Colonel Megan Napier.
That's going to be everyone. You know, everyone is just a few drops away from not having any drinking water, right? So it's going to be interesting. That's all I got to say. How you doing? It's just really amazing that, again, if you're old enough, you're as old as I am, you've seen all this before in different contexts, right? So it'll be interesting to see. Thank you, dear.
There you go. How was it?
Pretty yummy. Do you have a bag so it doesn't go all over my car?
I do have a bag, absolutely. There you go.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Have a good afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. More news.
Lieutenant Colonel Megan Napier of the New Mexico National Guard says now they're able to distribute water for 8 hours a day instead of just limited windows. The need is extreme.
We are able to service people who are working during the day and unable to come during the early morning hours to get in line. So we're not having to turn people away today, and that's a pretty good feeling.
Mudslides coming off a wildfire burn scar from 2 years ago rendered the city's water treatment plant all but inoperable. Kirk Sigler, NPR News, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
The Justice Department has indicted nearly 200 people accused of involvement in healthcare fraud. Attorney General Merrick Garland says doctors, nurse practitioners, and others took part in a variety of scams costing taxpayers nearly $3 billion. One of the schemes offered sober living homes to Native Americans, which turned out to be phony. On Wall Street, Dow futures are trading higher at this hour. This is NPR News.
Support for WBTS comes from Barter Theater, presenting Stephen King's The Shawshank Redemption.
Those live with homeowners who have lost everything and hope they will receive some sort of assistance.
That's Sheila Bummer reporting. This is NPR News.
This is NPR News. In Kentucky and other states, Jewish women are using a surprising...
Trump is the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's had lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover.
And here's Trump moments later.
The only thing I was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back. And he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that.
They also faced questions about their age and fitness for office. Either man would be the oldest president in U.S. history if sworn in next year. Here's Biden, who's 81.
This guy's 3 years younger, and we're all less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation you left me.
And here's Trump, who's 78.
I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter. As good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same.
So what might young voters make of it all? Here in the studio, we have Jack Lowell, National Press Secretary for the left-leaning group Voters of Tomorrow. Welcome.
Thank you.
And on the line, we have Joe Mitchell. He's the head of Run Gen Z, which encourages young conservatives to run for office, and he walks that talk. Joe Mitchell is also a former Iowa state lawmaker. Welcome.
Good morning, Linda.
So, Jack, let's start with you. We saw President Biden last night, whose voice was raspy at times. He would trail off. Sometimes he was hard to follow. As both a Democrat and a young voter, what did you make of President Biden's performance?
Yeah, President Biden seemed old, but he's an old guy with a record of fighting for Gen Z. He has delivered on all of our top issues and has a compelling vision for what he wants to do for us in his second term. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was similarly old-seeming, but he is a felon. He has been found liable of sexual assault, and he would restrict abortion access and access to other forms of healthcare. That is not a vision that resonates with Gen Z, and that's why I'm still going to be voting for President Biden in 2024.
Joe, I want to turn to you and talk about Donald Trump. He rattled off statements throughout the debate that simply weren't true and were left unchecked. How did he come across to you?
Well, I mean, first of all, the hardest job today in America is to defend that debate for Joe Biden. I mean, I think the fact-checking that, analysis and panelists talked about afterwards, that need to be happening on both sides. And so it was pretty skewed, the criticism towards that. But, I mean, all together, we saw on the debate stage last night that Joe Biden does not belong on a debate stage. He does not belong in the Oval Office. He belongs in a nursing home. And Donald Trump stayed on message. He talked about inflation. He talked about the economy. He talked about the open border, the crisis that's happening there. And Joe Biden clearly just didn't have a message at all. And his own vice president couldn't defend his performance.
So neither of those guys had a message, and because there is no message to be had, because it's a corporate hoax of like I said, Donald Trump lies so much that he tells the truth. And he keeps going, oh, it's a fix. It is fixed. You have no choice. Go watch George Carlin, In the 80s and 90s, his HBO specials were excellent about describing where we're at. He was doing that. He was telling us what was going on today, 30 years ago, right? And other people were there too. Orwell, Huxley, tons of folk, and that's part of the story. Meaning, we are just in. I think we're a soap opera for extraterrestrials. As soon as, and that's why they keep spicing it up. And all that blood sacrifice, it's good for ratings. So, but the wars in Gaza and the wars in Ukraine and the wars in Africa, they can't go on. They're unsustainable. And they're unsustainable they stopped being sustainable 20 years ago, but they're still going on. And everyone who's fighting these wars and manifesting these wars, they're all following the script. There is no fluidity, and there is no dynamic of, oh, this is this and this is that. No. None of the above. So. Anyway, you really, and there's a family over there, 3 little kids. The oldest is probably 9. The others are probably 7 and 6. Mom and dad, they look like they're teenagers. I look at people and they think they're so young. It's hard for me to see. And how you doing today?
Good.
Look at that family.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom and dad look like teenagers.
They're not.
From my perspective, yes.
Would you want to keep your nap? Could you need to take that for you?
Yeah,
All righty. Thank you, sir.
you can take that too.
I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You might give me another napkin.
Of course, yes.
Thanks. Oh, it says.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. Hey, guys. What are you doing with the summer? You having a good one? That's good. A picnic? That sounds good. Do I want to come? No, I think you guys have it. You gonna do it with your mom? That sounds good. That sounds fun. Just stay in the shade. Anyway. So, what can I say? I can't say much except good luck. I'll come back later this afternoon, maybe an hour or less, somewhere there.